Collins Speaking for IELTS, 2nd edition. Copyright HarperCollins Publishers, 2019. Track 87. 1.
Back in the 1980s, this was a nice place to live. Everyone knew everyone and people looked out for each other. I'm sorry to say that since the 60s, the population has risen dramatically, and this has led to a breakdown in the community ties that used to unite us. Also, second homeowners buy holiday homes here, and that has meant that the price of property has gone up in recent years, forcing young people to move away from the area.
2.
My city is becoming more and more vibrant as time goes on. I love it. It used to be really boring, with nothing much for young people to do, but now bars and clubs have opened up. The city's no longer just for the older generations, with theatres and museums. It's got a new image, with a great nightlife and an increasing student population to enjoy it.
3.
A century ago, this town was a busy place with its many factories and its port. Nowadays, however, it's nowhere near as busy as manufacturing has moved elsewhere. But I'm not that sad about all the changes. There's a certain beauty to the disused industrial architecture, and in fact, many of the old factories are being converted into flats, and they're extremely popular with trendy young couples who are now moving into the town.
Track 88. Tell me about your hometown. In what ways has your town or city changed since you were a child? How could your town or city be improved? Are there any traffic problems where you live? Track 89.
Tell me about your hometown.
It's a fairly large town in the south of the country with a population of about 150,000. When I was growing up, I always thought my hometown was all right, but now that I've travelled more widely, I know I wouldn't want to live there anymore.
In what ways has your town or city changed since you were a child?
Well, crime has been on the increase since the late 1990s. My friends who still live there no longer feel that safe. Also, it has become very congested and traffic is a real problem. When I visit now, it makes me quite sad thinking how things used to be.
How could your town or city be improved?
The city where I live now is beautiful, and it's hard for me to think of any way in which it could be improved. I suppose if I had to find something, I'd say that it has mainly chain restaurants and shops, so we could do with a greater range of independent places. It would make eating out and shopping more enjoyable.
Are there any traffic problems where you live?
Yes, but I think there are traffic problems everywhere in this country, certainly in the towns and cities. Here, public transport is really expensive, so everyone drives, and that means we have terrible traffic jams during the rush hour. They should also reduce ticket prices on the buses.
Track 90. A place that I enjoy visiting is Graz. It's the second largest city in Austria, with a population of around 300,000. It's in the southeast of the country, in the state of Styria, which is a green, lush part of Austria. There is lots to do in Graz. It has several universities, so first and foremost, it's a fantastic place to be a student. It's buzzing with a good nightlife, good restaurants, and a lively cultural life. In fact, it's a UNESCO World Heritage Site. If you climb up to the hill overlooking the old town, you have an amazing view of the city. What strikes me most when I go up there is all the traditional buildings with their red roofs, and then right in the middle of it all, a remarkable piece of contemporary architecture, the Museum of Modern Art. It looks like a huge sea cucumber and doesn't look anything like the architecture around it, but of course very suitable for what's inside it, modern art. I always think how brave it was of the Austrians to put it there, in the heart of the city, and how unlikely it was that that sort of thing would ever be allowed where I live. I really admire them for it, and I think the building has its own kind of beauty. The last time I went to Graz, there was a food festival. People were tasting all different kinds of food from stalls on the street, very informally, and chatting with friends while they ate. It was wonderful. How has it changed since I first visited it? Well, I would say it has definitely become trendier. Like I say, they have built a stunning new museum. They have also built an island in the river, which is actually a floating platform with a cafe and a playground on it. To go with the sea cucumber theme, this one is shaped like a seashell. I would say the local inhabitants have become prouder of their city too. It has received quite a lot of attention in recent times, which has really placed Graz well and truly on the cultural map. That's something the inhabitants are always happy to talk to you about. In fact, that is something else I enjoy about going there. The local people are incredibly friendly and helpful.
When did you last go to Graz?
I went there the year before last. I wish I could go more often, but I can't because of work commitments. Track 91. Leicester, Newcastle, Reading, Greenwich, Plymouth, Cambridge. Track 93. Home. Is it only children who experience homesickness? Do you think it's better for children to grow up in the city or the country? Why do some people retire to the countryside? Patriotism. Are people from your country patriotic? Why do people often feel proud of where they come from? Does intense patriotism have any disadvantages? Track 94.
Is it only children who experience homesickness?
Children probably feel homesickness more acutely because they may never have been away from home before and because they are still closely attached to their parents. They cannot appreciate the culture of a new place or the time off work the way an adult can. And they are generally less flexible when it comes to coping with unfamiliar food and so on. However, many adults also experience culture shock when they visit a new place, which I suppose can be considered a kind of adult homesickness. We find a place strange, and this is because it is different to what we are used to. So, in a sense, we miss our familiar surroundings and are therefore homesick.
Do you think it's better for children to grow up in the city or the country?
I think the perfect solution is to live in the countryside close to a major cultural center, by which I mean a big city. This means that the child can enjoy all the pleasures of country life, the farm animals, the fresh air, the relative safety, whilst at the same time not being too far from all the fun that can be had in the city. For example, musicals, kids' museums, zoos. Kids need to be exposed to a wide range of situations and settings, and experiencing just the city or just the countryside is limiting.
Why do some people retire to the countryside?
I suppose they want the peace and quiet after a lifetime of hard work in the busy city. In fact, I think the city is associated with work and the country with relaxation. Of course, people like farmers do work in the countryside, so it's not a totally accurate picture, but that's how they are often seen.
Are people from your country patriotic?
On the whole, I would say yes, they are. I think most people in the world are patriotic. You can see this at the Olympics, where thousands of people go to support their country's sports people. Also, millions, if not billions more, watch it from the comfort of their own homes, cheering their countrymen on and willing them to win. It's a very powerful force, patriotism, and has been responsible for much good and bad. But I think the Olympics shows us the best and most inclusive side of patriotism.
Why do people often feel proud of where they come from?
People feel the need to belong to a club, to a family, to a group of friends, to a region, and to a country. Where you come from is associated with so many other things that say a lot about you, and so define who you are. For example, it affects what you eat, what language you speak, and how you behave towards others. Being proud of where you are from is therefore an extension of being proud of who you are.
Does intense patriotism have any disadvantages?
Oh, undoubtedly. The other side of patriotism is xenophobia, people disliking others who are from another country and associating all kinds of negative characteristics with them. People are capable of believing that everyone from that country over there is mean, rude, dirty, etc. It's quite frightening, really. Track 95. Let me rephrase that. Or more accurately, Track 96. My house is too small. What I mean is that it is too small for our family because there are so many of us. For an average-sized family, it would do very well. My house is too small, or to put it another way,